Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a wonderful day. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission, otherwise known as the SEC, has reportedly put 6 spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund applications under review, making the first step before officially approving or rejecting them. The way that the SEC works, as far as we have received news over the course of the last 9 years at this point, is that first you file with the SEC, logically. A lot of you might have remembered around 2 weeks ago, we had very weird news which actually caused the price of Bitcoin to go down because, fear and all that stuff. That the US SEC had said that the application from BlackRock was not sufficient, and people assumed that that meant that they had rejected it. Part of the issue is that the application form simply said that they would be working with cryptocurrency. The SEC said, which cryptocurrency? It said that the filers would be working with crypto exchanges. And the SEC said, which crypto exchanges? So now that all of that has been mended, fixed, written on a piece of paper as if the SEC didn't know what was going on, they are now in the process of reviewing all of the Bitcoin spot, that is to say the physical, these companies will be holding Bitcoin ETF applications that we first heard of. Wasn't it June or something like that? The year is flying. I don't understand. Like, summer's basically almost over. I'm not really understanding how quickly everything is actually moving, but I digress. So the good news is we've gotten this far. They're beginning to review and look at the applications, or so they say. This is what we normally hear. The next step is that I think they're given, I forgot exactly how big the window is. I believe it's a month or two, maybe 3. There's a window that the US SEC has where they're allowed to look at and review said ETF application and then not give a yes or a no. They can simply announce that we need more time, which is what they've done every other time as well. The most, I would say, annoying part of it all is that they actually opened this up to public discussion, where on their website, you, as a normal person, are allowed to go to their website and say if you want or do not want a Bitcoin ETF. If you've been here since 2018, 2019, you remember this. Someone just chuckled because the US SEC announced that they were thinking of allowing a Bitcoin ETF to go through, but they wanted public opinion. I was skeptical because they don't care what we think. They have all the power. But alas, I made a video, and so did many other people, and we all began talking about, if they want to see that people want this, go right to them. And I think they had hundreds of notices of people writing to them, of letters, emails, you name it. And even on the website, you could actually write in the area. And as we all know, it didn't work out because they still ended up rejecting it. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because, in hindsight, if we had all known how the SEC truly is and how they have presented themselves in the last 2 years, I would have never made that video because I honestly assumed that the regulators were like, hey, let's regulate. Let's make the place fair for everyone. But, that's not at all how the SEC actually works. Finance giants, including BlackRock and Fidelity Digital Assets, have recently displayed ambitions to launch such ETFs, infusing enthusiasm in the crypto space and positively affecting the market. This is only going to go one of two ways. There actually is no middle road for this one. It is either a yay or a massive obliterating Kamehameha nay. There's no way around this. This is where we keep hearing all these really weird price predictions that by the end of this year, Bitcoin will be at $60,000, $70,000 by the end of this year. XRP is at $8, $9, $10. It surrounds all of this. And I know that it's impossible for us as a community and a space to not be excited by something like this. It is literally impossible because it's something that we've been waiting for so long. Back in the olden days, in 2019, a lot of people said that they assumed that the US SEC would continue rejecting ETFs because they assumed that the SEC wanted us to feel like we finally deserved it, almost like we're a dog. Like, you know, you wait years and years to not do something, finally you go, okay, now you can have the treat, kind of thing. And this is where you hear the heavyweights of BlackRock and Fidelity isn't random. It's actually, you know, it seems like a very coordinated thing because BlackRock, in my assumption, would never apply for something that they know that they're not going to get. Also, even more so, BlackRock always gets what they want because they're BlackRock. They're not some tiny company. They control. Anyway, as reported by Reuters, the U.S. securities regulator has formally acknowledged the applications of BlackRock, Van Eck, WisdomTree, Fidelity Digital Assets, Bitwise, and Invesco, that is Invest without the T and Co., all of which filed to introduce a spot Bitcoin ETF in America. Despite the previous attempts from other companies, the commission has failed to greenlight any of them. While the agency is still weighing on its decision regarding launching a spot ETF in the States, it has already given a positive nod that they will allow one in the future. It's more of a when kind of thing. Also tying directly into this as well, for those of you who missed it, the CBOE, I think that's Chicago Bitcoin Only Eatery. I forgot what CBOE stands for. They have recently filed 5 Bitcoin ETFs, and they have announced that they want Coinbase to be their surveillance partner. The way that the US SEC works and many other regulators is that they don't want everything going through just one company. So you essentially have to, as a company, have another company who is your clearinghouse, and then usually another company who is your custody, who actually is holding the coins for you. And this is still a topic of discussion, at least for some people in the space, as to why Coinbase would have gotten in trouble with the US SEC allegedly a couple of months ago. But nearly every single company who's trying to get a Bitcoin ETF has announced that they will be working with Coinbase as their custody partner. So that just seems a little bit weird, at least for me. Yeah. So as it stands right now, the optimism is quite heavy in the air. We will, as always, because this is always the way that it actually ends up working, is that as we get closer to the date and the public is made more aware of when this is going to happen, we end up getting the news, and then it becomes quite prevalent in our news as well. And I dare not say problem with all of this, besides the SEC running everything, is that as we get closer to a deadline, the prices of our market, at least in the past, always moved up. Not sometimes, but always, in anticipation of this actually going through. And then also, every time that we have been rejected, the price collapsed that same hour. So as we get closer to this, we will be hearing more about it. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but with something as big as BlackRock and Fidelity, it's a little difficult to just kind of, not have the enthusiasm there. That's the BlackRock, Fidelity, Van Eck, Invesco, WisdomTree, Bitwise, and CBOE Bitcoin ETF news. Not fingers crossed, finger half crossed, if that makes any sense to you, because it doesn't make sense at all. And yeah, let's move on. Also okay, like, hold your horses. Everyone's excited, but just calm down for a second. The recent ruling in which Judge Annalisa Torres declared that XRP was not a security may prove to have more positive undertones for the blockchain payments company known as Ripple. Speaking in an interview with CNBC, Stuart Aladrodi, the company's general counsel, shared a very optimistic projection as he noted that banks within the United States may soon start using XRP for cross-border payments following the lawsuit. Where do I even begin? Not only is this conversation incredibly heavy, incredibly loaded, this dates back to good old 2016. Ripple pops up, XRP hits the market, and one of the ideas was that this coin was going to be used by banks. By the time we got to 2017, XRP rose dramatically in price. It had become the number 2 coin, and the news of Ethereum flipping Bitcoin basically disappeared from the news headlines. As you might have imagined, the news then became, is XRP going to flip Bitcoin? I believe that roughly around that time is when the avalanche of lies began to form from a lot of people who were then at least considered to be Bitcoin maximalists. The idea of a coin that was pre-mined taking over Bitcoin was a gigantic no-no for them. Nonetheless, the original idea of Bitcoin was to get away from the banks, but now that banks have embraced it, we no longer hear this discussion of Bitcoin is for the people. So the idea of a coin that was being embraced by, there's also, for those of you who weren't here, there was a point in time where the Federal Reserve was testing or whatever, doing something with XRP. You can find it. It's a very, very old article. 2017, 2016, type in like Fed taps Ripple or Fed tests Ripple or Fed Reserve using XRP. You can definitely find this, a very, very old article. Roughly around that time, the idea of a security didn't really exist. And once again, this news began to pop up from anyone who was against XRP, and they lied to all of you. I told you that for years. Some of the lies were that Ripple, the company, controls the blockchain. They can print more XRP. They can burn XRP at will. They can freeze transactions. You name it. You lie about it. People are going to believe it because people want to believe the worst as opposed to actually doing research for themselves. This is just how things always are. Back then, we had news that there were a number of banks who were already, we don't know this, if this is true or not. We weren't in the room for those conversations. But that apparently a bunch of companies were already testing XRP for their cross-border payments. Something happened behind the scenes that we will never know, because by the end of 2020 is when the former head of the US SEC announced that he was launching a lawsuit against the company Ripple for selling XRP as an unregistered security within the United States. You all know how that turned out. So over the course of the last 6-7 years, the amount of lies that have been mounted against Ripple and XRP have all but been obliterated. We now know the truth. If you still don't know the truth, I can't help you. I still see people on Twitter saying very weird things. And I think they want you to simply hold on to the past, because I think it would make you feel better that you did not buy this coin when you should have. So simply you keep the lie going. It's one of the easiest ways to make yourselves feel better. When we heard that there were tons of banks, if not dozens, that was the word that we got, we're thinking of using XRP. This news came from, I believe, Brad Garlinghouse, who is the CEO of Ripple. I even said it back then. I see no reason why he would have lied. I think in a situation where your company is worth billions, you can't simply say, oh, we got 9 million banks about to use, or, it's this kind of thing. It was a very specific number. It was dozens of banks are going to use it. The lawsuit got started. This is where we currently are right now. To have this news popping back up is very interesting to me for a number of reasons. We know, me, you, us, that there are, I believe, over 100, this is the news that we got before, over 100 banks within the US who are trying to buy, sell, hold, and custody Bitcoin. They see the future. They know what's coming. They know exactly what's happening. However, on the other flip side, we heard this similar news as well years ago because of XRP. Over the course of the last 3 years, some of the largest whale news, whales are buying, has surrounded XRP. If you remember, I mean, you can even go look at the other videos. It's not that I'm making this up. I have definitive proof because I show you the articles. I link the articles and I also show it on the screen. Everything is kind of there. So this leads me to believe, or rather, I then throw my hands up with a question and I say, who were the people who were buying massive amounts of XRP? Wouldn't it be really weird if banks were buying the entire time within the United States, just kind of waiting for this to end? I told all of you before, whether you believed me or not, even if Ripple had, air quotes, lost the lawsuit and XRP had been declared a security, the company Ripple would have then only had to register with the SEC, and XRP once again could flow freely through the ecosystems. You would simply have to register to be able to use it. And it's the same exact thing that banks already do. They register with the SEC when they're making a new financial product. I don't think that as a company as large as Ripple, that anyone would go on the news, that is to say CNBC, and lie openly about other banks potentially being able to use them and or wanting to use them. Where does this all lead is kind of the point that I'm trying to make. I have so much more that I want to say, but you know how my brain works. My brain is literally like, I'm like firing at all cylinders. It's like in every single corner of the room, and I can't really, put it into proper words. But the idea is we're getting a lot of really insane price predictions for XRP now, and it's completely warranted. They won the lawsuit. Things are in their favor. But then you talk about the $8 per XRP by the end of this year. That would lead us to, logically, if we can at least double that, that gets us to a $15, $16 XRP by 2024. Where does that lead us to 2025? How much accumulation has been going on this entire time? Who exactly is planning on using it? This is, because to think that there are no banks in the United States who wouldn't figure out how to profit from this, you are not based in reality if you're thinking that. We have heard for years that banks are into crypto, and it's clear that they would also be into something that is, dare I say, as regulated and legal as Ripple and the entire system that they currently surround. So I think all of this is very fascinating, especially as we have gotten news that there are already tons of companies around the world who are actually already using XRP. In the interview, Al Doroti noted that the company will soon start pitching its on-demand liquidity, that is the thing that uses XRP, service to U.S. banks beginning in the third quarter. Is that not now? Wait, 4 quarters, 3 months, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, that's now. That would definitely be quarter 3, beginning in the third quarter. The on-demand, or is there like another quarter I'm not thinking of? The on-demand liquidity service uses XRP as its native currency, and the service has helped the company carve out a growth path in different countries, particularly in the Asia-Pacific region. The use of XRP as a cryptocurrency for payments in the U.S. was only up for discussion now, as the lawsuit by the SEC resulted in regulatory uncertainty that pushed many, many companies away. Still, and they're not my favorite, but I do tip my hat in the direction of Coinbase and Gemini for listing XRP the moment the lawsuit was won, because I was afraid that they would kind of tiptoe around it. So thank you for being a friend. The case forced Ripple's long-term partner, MoneyGram to call off its business relationship with the company in early 2021 because of the lawsuit and all the other things that actually went with it. Yeah, it'll be very fascinating to see what this leads to, if anything. It is, once again, it's very difficult not to get excited with all the, at least for me. I sometimes hear the news and I see what's going on and I tell people, and people don't seem to care. There are so many, it's so difficult not to be bullish. Like it hurts. I don't think you understand how bullish I am on this space at all times. Bitcoin, I will tell you right now, Bitcoin could fall down to $18,000. We could get a $750 Ethereum all over again. And I would figure out ways to shuffle money around in my bank account to buy more crypto. It is impossible to get such an avalanche of continual good news and not feel good about the space in some sort of way, or just really understand where all of this is actually going. There are smaller banks in the United States. Not everything is like a JP Morgan Chase. And I would not be surprised if they have already been contacted by of course, everyone was waiting for this lawsuit ruling. Wouldn't be surprised if there weren't already around 10 smaller banks across the country who have already contacted them in some sort of way. It's going to get very interesting. And as people within crypto seemingly only mainly care about anything happening within the United States, if we get a good 12 banks, heaven help us if we finally get that dozens of banks within the United States who are actively going to be using XRP, it's $10 is all but a definite. It's all but a definite. All we need, you know what? We need any type of major bank within the United States to make a public announcement that they plan on using XRP, have been buying XRP, and or are working with Ripple to do cross-border payments with on-demand liquidity. It's game over. You can't. We're going to start having discussions once again as to if XRP is actually going to flip Bitcoin. You think I'm joking. You were not here years ago. A lot of people only know a world where the SEC was trying to step on Ripple. You don't know a world where you actually come into contact with people who like the company Ripple, who own XRP and believe in the vision. I'm telling you, you don't know. Like they completely outshined people who like Cardano. You don't understand what's coming if we actually get this kind of news. That's the banks may start using XRP after the court ruling. We'll see exactly what ends up happening. And yeah, let's move on. Also in news, Binance's CEO, his name is Changpeng Zhao, has confirmed that the cryptocurrency exchange is going to be laying off people. He said the numbers that are reported by the media are actually way off, however. He says, as we continuously strive to increase talent density, there are involuntary terminations. He wrote in a tweet, while adding, this happens in every company. Binance has kind of been the, how do I say it? Over the course of the last couple of years, while tons of other companies were firing people, we got news that Binance was only hiring people. For some reason, I will never know why, any type of firing news, people losing their job news, ends up becoming popular in crypto. I don't get it. However, that's just seemingly where we are. There were allegations, once again, by one particular news outlet, who we're going to talk about in a couple of moments, because they have become quite famous in the cryptocurrency space for seemingly, allegedly, always targeting Binance as something negative in some sort of way. They mentioned before, as far as to my knowledge, as I go over daily news, they announced that, that Changpeng Zhao had been detained. They also said before that something had happened to him. Binance was falling apart. I think they're also the same company. I think They're also the same company that said that Tether was fake and all these. It's one particular news company. However, on the actual news that Binance may have fired a few people, everyone completely ran away with it. The tweet from the Binance boss came after a Wall Street Journal, that's the news company, report on Friday saying that the exchange was laying off over 1,000 employees, with the possibility of eventually letting go of as much as 1/3 of their workforce. Binance employed around 8,000 people before the latest rounds of layoffs. This is according to the Wall Street Journal report. If you have paid attention over the last couple of years, the Wall Street Journal, at least from my memory, has consistently put out negative news stories about the cryptocurrency space. It usually revolves around what they deem to be or what they say is fraud, layoffs, or something bad is happening, or this isn't actually real. And I have assumed for quite some time that a publication as large as they would have done more due diligence to make sure that they're not simply spouting what could be perceived as nonsense and or lies into the world. You know, you can't be the Wall Street Journal and then continuously say negative things about the cryptocurrency space that can then be revealed as being lies just a couple of hours later. And this is also one of the reasons why I actually like Changpeng Zhao, is because whenever something happens, allegations, whatever, he goes to Twitter immediately and he starts talking about it. He has a huge discussion with normal people on there, while other larger figureheads in the space who've been around for longer, who are worth billions, when things happen against them or there are allegations, they silence. There are no words actually from them. Here's an image of the thing from the Wall Street Journal. In the tweet, Changpeng Zhao said that the number of workers being laid off that was reported was actually way off, and he called it FUD. He said, "We are still hiring." He says, "As we continuously strive to increase talent density, there are involuntary terminations. This happens in every company. The numbers reported by media are way off for FUD. On the bright side, they just can't resist talking about us. That's very true. We are still hiring." I would assume, now hear me out here. If you have 8,000 people, probably about a good 50, maybe 100, maybe they just were going to get fired anyway. Maybe they weren't working. Maybe they have certain circumstances. Maybe you never know what's actually going on. Crypto's weird because this was one of the most popular news stories that was out there. Always happens. Anytime that there's news about layoffs, for some reason it does it. It does it for the space, and people love the idea of layoffs, and I don't understand it. That's the Changpeng Zhao said that they're laying off people, but not a lot of people. News. Yeah, I told you that the cryptocurrency space was a weird one. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on. Also in the news, sorry for screaming, a recent study conducted by CryptoVantage estimates that 23% of people within the United States expect Bitcoin to climb to $70,000 by the end of this year. You heard that correctly. 47% of people think that this will happen over the course of the next 5 years. I don't know if those people know how a market cycle works. That's not a joke. It is a learning curve. I promise you. You get into crypto and you think it'll be similar to the stock market in that, you know, they have longer cycles and things take a lot longer and things break down. Nope. Ours is almost right on schedule. You have the year before the halving, prices end up going up. You have the halving, prices go up. You have the year after the halving, prices go up even more. People think that prices will never fall. Prices end up falling. You have a good 2-year period where people are like, oh no, prices will never rise again. Guess what, buddy boy? The next year, they end up rising a little tiny bit again. The next year, they go up a tiny bit more. The year after that is the halving. And then prices go back up. And then we have the next year after the halving. It's the same thing over and over. So I would assumption that a large number of the 47% who think it'll take 5 years for Bitcoin to get back to its previous all-time high, they're probably just new here. The majority of respondents also believe that high inflation that has recently spread around the globe will make cryptocurrency more attractive to investors. They're not incorrect. The survey, which questioned 1,000 people within the United States who have purchased cryptocurrency, showed that 70% of them expect Bitcoin to shoot back to $70,000 in the next 5 years. In comparison, apparently 8% of those people believe that Bitcoin will never climb to that level again. Can you imagine having news that BlackRock and Fidelity are actively... If you think they're not buying Bitcoin, I don't know what planet you're living on. Are actively buying Bitcoin, as are tons of other companies. We just heard from MicroStrategy a couple of days ago. What was it? Don't they own like 140,000 Bitcoin? They just bought like 12 or 13,000 more. To think that Bitcoin will never go back above 70,000, I don't want to live in that mindset, because that doesn't compute like at all. That's kind of, anyway. Yeah. The optimistic, wow, English. The optimistic times, there we go, continue to roll. A lot of people are very thinking a lot about where prices are going to be going. If this is your first cycle, it's going to get intense. You think I'm joking, and I think you don't really understand what's coming your way. You are going to, I said this before, you are going to wake up. You are going to look at your crypto wallet, and you will have made $15,000, and you won't know what to do with yourself. And the vast majority of people won't cash out because you expect the next morning to have made more money. That's we will all talk about that when we actually get into that phase, because it is not that far away. It is closer than you all actually think, especially where we're getting news that nearly all the analysts at this point think that we are going to be at least at 50 to 60,000 by the end of this year. But I assume the contingency is that a Bitcoin ETF has been approved. If that happens, I'm going to be doing scary things to my bank account, because it'll be time. Yeah. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. As always, the articles will be in the description below. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. There we go. That's the word. Why do I never know that? And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.